What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a top 10 songs reaction. I'm calling it Lost Songs from our patron, longtime supporter, and friend of the channel, Osmond. Thank you, Osmond. Thank you to all the patrons that make this thing go. If you'd like to help us out in any way, check out the Patreon link below, or the patron link on the end screen. What does the name mean, you ask? Well, here's what Osmond said. He said this list consists of 10 more or less random songs I've been wishing for quite some time to request, but for various reasons have been able to include on previous lists. The list is not in order of preference, but rather in order I think gives a good flow to the list. So Osmond does tons. He's been a patron forever. He does tons of top 10 lists, great top 10 lists. And these songs just couldn't fit in there. He didn't have a name for it. I don't either, but there's a lot of great artists in here. If you've never been with us before, the music will not be in the video, but check out the Vimeo link below. You can listen along with us. Let's go to his first song, which you already see below. Pink Floyd, Embryo, live from the BBC radio sessions, July 16th, 1970. Released on the early years 1970, Deviation in 2016. Osmond says Embryo was a staple of Pink Floyd concerts in 1970 to 71. A short acoustic studio version was recorded in 68 and released on the multi-artist album Picnic, A Breath of Fresh Air in 1970. The live versions from 70 to 71, though, is a lot longer and more rocking, but the song was eventually replaced both in the live sets and on albums by Echoes. This live version from BBC in 1970 is one of my favorite Floyd recordings. That is high praise from Osmond. We're going to have David Gilmour on co-lead vocals and electric guitar, Richard Wright on co-lead vocals and Hammond organ, Roger Waters on bass, and Nick Mason on drums. I'm going to have the lyrics up as always. Thanks again, Osmond. All right, Embryo, a 10-minute song. And David Gilmour said later on that they released this song on that sampler album that I was talking about without their permission. They weren't even done, that they got Norman Smith to come in and mix it and release it, so they weren't too happy with that. So I'm sure this is how they wanted the finished version to sound. I mean, Osmond says it's one of his favorite Floyd songs. That's high praise. I think a lot of Floyd. This is okay for me. I mean, this is not really the part of Floyd that I like. It's a 10-minute song. But, I mean, I get it. I get it for those of you that like that stuff. Next up, we got The Band with Bessie Smith. It was released in two different versions. Bob Dylan and the band, The Basement Tapes in 75, or in the deluxe edition of Cahoots in 71/2021. Osmond said the sounds better on the remastered Cahoots, so that's what we're going to go with here. Osmond says, I've dabbled with the idea of making the band top 10 list, but haven't got around to it. This song is one of my favorites of theirs, although not among their most famous. As I mentioned earlier, the song's included on the 75 release of Bob Dylan and the band's Basement Tapes, but this song is one of 3 songs not actually from the 1967 Basement Tapes sessions on the album, but was recorded by the band sometime between 67 and 70 and was unreleased up until this point. Later, this song has been included as a bonus track on the band's Cahoots album. I just found the song was written and recorded as a tribute to the American blues singer Bessie Smith. We do have some stuff of the band up, but we haven't done anything for the band in a very long time. Bessie Smith, a top flight instrumentation, as always, that organ is really going on in this song. That's what you always get with the band. You're going to always get a professionally done song because all of them were so top flight on instrumentation. Tells a good story. Tim just tells the story of Bess. If he sees her again, will they be like old friends? Will they know each other? And a fine piece of musicianship. I mean, from the first 2 songs, obviously the Floyd song, the musicianship was off the charts. We're going to see a huge turn as we go to our next track, Blind Willie Johnson. Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground. From Dark Was the Night, Mojo Workin' Blues for the Next Generation in 1928. Yes, you heard that right. Osmond says another list I've been working on but haven't yet come to fruition is a list of 1920s, 30s blues and folk music. This song consists of guitar playing and a sort of harmonious moaning. If there are any lyrics, they're certainly indiscernible, but the subject of the song is said to be the crucifixion of Christ. This song is one of 27 samples of music on the Voyager Golden record that was launched into space in 1977. So I did quite a bit of research on this just because I didn't know much about Blind Willie. As Osmond said, the song's primarily an instrumental featuring Johnson's self-taught bottleneck slide guitar and picking style, accompanied by his vocalizations of humming and moaning. The song has been praised and covered by numerous musicians and featured on the soundtracks of several films. A little bit about Blind Willie Johnson. Born in 1897, he taught himself how to play guitar and dedicated his life to blues and gospel music, playing for people on street corners and in mission halls. Columbia Records had a field unit that traveled to smaller towns to record local talent. Johnson recorded 30 songs for them at 5 sessions between 1927 and 1930. And one of the first of these was this song. Music historian Mark Humphrey describes Johnson's compositions as an impressionistic rendition of lining out, a call and response style of singing hymns that is common in Southern African American churches. By most accounts, Blind Willie substituted a knife or a penknife for the bottleneck. His melancholy gravel-throated humming of the guitar part creates the impression of unison moaning, a melodic style common in Baptist churches where, instead of harmonizing, a choir hums or sings the same vocal part, albeit with slight variations among its members. Singer-songwriter Jack White of the White Stripes called this song the greatest example of slide guitar ever recorded, and used the song as a standard to measure such iconic rock music that followed in its wake, such as Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin. In 2003, John Clark in The Times wrote that this song was the most intense and startling blues record ever made. Like I said, I did a lot of research. A lot of times I don't share a lot of the research that I do for time purposes, but I thought this was important because this is some high praise. Blind Willie Johnson, Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground, released and credited officially to 1928, but I read that he recorded in 1927, 95 years ago at the time that I recorded this, and you can just feel it, man. It's one of those things you can't really describe. You just feel it, man. You feel the passion in Blind Willie. Obviously, the slide guitar was unbelievable on there and just lent this ambiance and feeling. You don't need lyrics for it. So that was fantastic. And in the running for the oldest song we've ever featured on here, I think it is. I mean, there can't be much that's older than this. So, yeah, a nice offering there. Next up, we have Lua by Conor Oberst and Jillian Welsh from the Various Artists Dark Was the Night album in 2009. Osmond says it's taken from a compilation album released to benefit the Red Hot organization, an international charity raising funds and awareness about HIV and AIDS. The album was named after the previous song on the list. Okay. The song is originally taken from Bright Eyes, I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning in 2005, which I have a full album reaction up to and is absolutely outstanding. And I love this song whenever I listen to it. But Osmond says, I personally think I like this duet version even better than the original. Wow. Let you guys know, the song deals with two people as they struggle through depression, addiction, and an interminable night. Lua, Conor Oberst, and Jillian Welsh. Like I said, I absolutely love this song on the Bright Eyes album, where it's just Conor's acoustic. Now it's both of them and his acoustic. Great acoustic playing here. Great emotion. I can see why it works better as a duet lyrically, because it is a conversation going on between the two. It's a nighttime. They're getting high. They're drunk. She tells him, I'll try to stay awake if you'll try the same. But, as many people who figure out when they party at nighttime, everything sounds like a good idea. By the daylight, not so much. So yeah, I can see why it works better with the back and forth with the female vocalist on there. I'm not sure which version I like better, but this is my first listen of this one. So a great pick there. Now our next pick, we got Iron and Wine, the trapeze singer from Around the Well in 2009. Now Trey and I actually have a song reaction of this song up that we did years ago at this point from Gregory Alan Isaacoff. Osmond says, for a while I worked on a list of sad, heartbreaking songs, but I never really finished it. This is one of the saddest songs I found. A song about death and loss. Look, man, I love sad songs. If Osmond ever does that, I'll be looking forward to doing it. I'm going to tell you about this song because I don't remember anything about it. All I remember about it is that we both thought it was so powerful, Trey and I. So it's a song about a man standing in line at the gates of the afterlife, taking inventory of his memories and telling the people involved in them how he hopes to be remembered. He alternates between this and describing the setting around it, presumably heaven, of course. The stream of disconnected memories culminate in the last stanza when the narrator declares that if he ever makes it to the gate, he'll sketch the people he's been thinking of on the wall. They'll be marching in a circus around himself, the overwhelmed trapeze singer. In an interview talking about his songs sometimes sound like music for romantic scenes in a movie, Sam Beam, who is Iron and Wine, said this song was for In Good Company, the movie, that I was sort of commissioned to do. At least I finished it with the plot points of the movie in mind, or at least the spirit of it. That was more of an assignment. But usually I'm just trying to get through the tune thinking, is this done? Can I walk away from this without trying to think, would this be good in the movie? Would this look good in a leather jacket? So yeah, I think that's the thing. You're commissioned to do a song for a movie, but let's make sure the song is good, not just that it fits its purpose. And All right, I never went and listened to this, and I wanted to because this, of course, was the original version, and I just never did it. So let's check it out. The Trapeze Swinger, such a man, such a beautiful song. You know, you got to follow along with the lyrics. I mean, you can understand the lyrics if you just listen there. But I think if you're of a certain age, I don't know what age that'd be. I'm definitely at that age where you listen to it and you read those lyrics, and you can like substitute your own memories in there. And it does start to make you sad and melancholy as you think about at some point you are going to die. It's the surest thing in life, boys and girls. And so just a powerful song. I think it was done so well. It's arranged so well. Just a nice acoustic, and you know, gets a little female backing in there on one part just to punch it up. But he's telling you this story, man. It's about a story. He's going to the gates of heaven, we're going to interpret, and he's singing to the girl, right? It's mainly to the girl, talking about their memories. And in each verse, there's 8 verses, he shares a different way he wants to remember. Please, and then it starts, remember me blank. Happily, fondly, remember me that Halloween, like reminiscing back, you know, on the holidays. Remember me mistakenly in the window of the tallest tower, calling passers by, but much too high. So he's in heaven trying to tell them to see the empty road at happy hour, glean and resonate just like the gates. And please remember me as in the dream. Please remember me, my misery, and how it lost me all I wanted. I thought that was so freaking powerful. Please remember me seldomly. Please remember me finally, is the last verse. And all my uphill climb, my dear, but if I make the pearly gates, I'll do my best to make a drawing of God and Lucifer, a boy and a girl, an angel kissing on a center, a monkey and a man, a marching band, all around a frightened trapeze swinger. So in life, sometimes I think he's telling you, you feel like a trapeze swinger, like you were just, you know, making these crazy moves or these dangerous moves or these other stuff you have to do. You may fall to your death, maybe not literally, but, you know, metaphorically, with a lot of bad stuff happening to us. We all just go through this in this life. If you want to see an even broader breakdown of the song, check out the song reaction we did to it. It wasn't for Iron and Wine, but it's the same song. But that song's crazy powerful. Now we have The Pretty Things from Loneliest Person from the SF Sorrow album in 1968. Osmond says this song was also one of the songs intended for the aforementioned list, the sad list, a song that has always resonated with me in a strange way, although I think it's way too short. Now, my write-up on this is going to be longer, my research in the song itself, which is, you know, about a minute and a half. But SF Sorrow is the 4th album by the English rock band Pretty Things, released in 1968. It's known as one of the first rock operas ever released, based on a short story by singer Phil May. The album is structured as a song cycle telling the story of a main character, Sebastian F. Sorrow, SF Sorrow, from his birth through love, war, tragedy, madness, and his disillusionment with old age. Members of The Who have claimed that SF Sorrow did not have an influence on Pete Townshend's writing of Tommy. However, the Pretty Things and critics have disagreed with that about The Who. They think it's directly influenced. So just a little bit of where we are, where this song comes, since it is a rock opera and a story. Sorrow, the guy, is destroyed by his journey. It leads him to understand that no one can be trusted any longer, and the society will only do away with you when you become old and serve it no longer. That's a sad thing, and that's the song Trust. He is driven into a dark mental seclusion where he suffers from eternal loneliness, much like Pink Floyd's The Wall, a similar rock opera. We have a 2-part reaction to that. SF Sorrow is the tale of a man who has endured hardships, which he uses to build into a mental wall that cuts him off from the rest of the waking world and leaves them without light. That's Old Man Going. And that leads us right into this, which is the final song. At the end of the album, he identifies himself as the loneliest person in the world. So on that uplifting message, boys and girls, let's check it out. Loneliest Person, what a song, man. I mean, the acoustic work on here is fantastic. I think his vocal performance is great. The way he reaches up higher in the octave for loneliest person in the world. You know, it starts off, you might be the loneliest person in the world. You'll never be as lonely as me. So he starts off with the chord. The only verse is, the sky, it seems dark as I'm walking through a park, but the face, it is too bright to see, or the sun might rise high, or an orange kind of sky. But the day, it seems too dark for me. So no matter how great your day is, you're describing the day, he's saying it's horrible. He said, yes, you might be the loneliest person in the world. You'll never be as lonely as me. Your name would have to be me. So I'm going to have to go check this out at some point. Concept albums, I enjoy them so much. They're such a journey to go through, though. There's so much to them. But yeah, man, I thought that was great. We got 4 songs left. Next up, Graham Parsons, In My Hour of Darkness, from the Grievous Angel album in 1974. Osmond said, I really like Graham Parsons and I wanted to include him in a Patreon pick for a long time, but haven't got around to it. The closing track on the last album before his death has always been a favorite of mine. I found the song as an allegory for people dying before their time. Each verse alludes to friends of Graham's who had recently passed away. It was written with Emmylou Harris, released 4 months after his death. We don't have very much Graham Parsons up at all, but he definitely has an interesting story. In My Hour of Darkness, obviously a country song, the first one appearing on this list. Nice acoustic work here. The harmonizing on this whole song between Graham and Emmylou Harris is fantastic. She was actually on the original album cover, but it's a long story I won't get into, but Graham's wife, after he died, was not a fan of that or of Emmylou. And we'll just leave it there because that's all water under the bridge and a bunch of hearsay, but a good song. I didn't know any of the 3 people on here that he was singing about. In the first verse, the young man driving through the night is Brandon DeWild. Then the young man strummed his silver guitar. He was just a country boy. That was Clarence White. And then there was an old man kind of wise with age was Sid Kaiser, who was a source of high quality drugs. So anyway, that is that one. I did enjoy that. Next up, we have Joan Baez, Diamonds and Rust from the album of the same name in 1975. Osmond says, I've wanted to include more Joan Baez on my picks, but I haven't come around to it. This song is one of her most well-known songs. It's about a relationship with Bob Dylan in the mid-60s. I've got a little more on that. In the song, Joan recounts an out-of-the-blue phone call from an old lover, which sends her back a decade in time to a crummy hotel in Greenwich Village in about 64 or 65. She recalls giving him a pair of cufflinks and summarizes that memories bring diamonds and rust. It does allude to her relationship with Bob Dylan 10 years previously, although Dylan's not specifically named in the song. In the 3rd chapter of her memoir, she uses phrases from the song in describing her relationship with Dylan and has been explicit that he was the inspiration for the song. She recounts how she originally told Dylan the song was about her ex-husband, David Harris, which was obviously not true. Diamonds and Rust, what a great song. I mean, Joan sounds fantastic and just unfolds a story. This songwriting is top flight, as you might expect. But yeah, she's just talking about, I like it starts, well, be damned, here comes your ghost again. But that's not unusual. It's just that the moon is full and you happen to call and here I sit. So even though it was 10 years before, she still thinks about him, right? Because it was a love of her life. And, he's calling from a booth in the Midwest 10 years ago. I bought you some cufflinks. You brought me something. We both know what memories can bring. They bring diamonds and rust. And then talking about how he burst on the scene, already a legend, the unwashed phenomenon, the original vagabond. Just great, great descriptive lyricism there. You strayed into my arms and there you stay. Temporary lost at sea. And she talks about, what are memories here of him standing there in the snow and where they lived. And at the very end, now you're telling me you're not nostalgic. Then give me another word for it. You who are so good with words and at keeping things vague. Because I need some of that vagueness now. It's all come back too early. Yes, I loved you dearly. And if you're offering me diamonds and rust, I've already paid. Song's fire, man. All right, we got 2 songs left. I'll take down the Spotify bar. As you have seen, we're going to listen to a song that's only available on YouTube. Royal City, Postcards. Osmond says Royal City was a Canadian indie rock band active from 99 to 2004. The song's taken from a later compilation album consisting of outtakes and B-sides. I really like the arrangement for this song. Royal City, Postcards. I agree with Osmond. The arrangement on here is great. Very reminiscent of the voice and kind of writing style of someone who's already been featured on here on Lua, Connor Oberst. Reminded me of that almost immediately. And he's just painting this picture of he misses this girl. He doesn't need pictures of her or postcards from you. I don't need nothing at all to remind me I'm blue for you. I drew a line and led me straight back to you. So I just thought it was well written, man. It's a really good song. All right, we're up to our final track. Remember, they were just arranged in the order that Osmond thought they flowed together, not ranked from 10 to 1. We got Kloster, Be Still My Soul from Half Dream, Half Epiphany in 2015. Osmond said I included a Kloster song on my earlier top 10 list of post-2000 Christian indie, which is a great list. You can check that after this. This is one of their other songs that were in the running for the list. They're a band musical collective from Copenhagen, Denmark. This is an old hymn, but here it is set to a new melody. The arrangement is showcasing the typical pastoral folk, neo-folk of Kloster. Kloster is a solo project, a band and a musical collective, just for you guys know, curated by Michael R. Anderson, based out of his home studio in Copenhagen. He spends his time creating musical thoughts with the help of friends who drop by. All right, let's check this out. Be Still My Soul, Kloster. a nice job of reimagining a song, obviously a worship song and, giving honor to God. And I mean, I'm a Christian. I know Osmond's a Christian. So this song resonates with me. I'm going to kind of echo my thoughts on Embry. I just thought it was too long. It could have been, it definitely could have been shorter for me and cut out some of the instrumentation that I know was trying to set that ambiance. But on this one, I think it can cause the song to lose some of its power for me. But I can see why Osmond included it on here. That is going to transition me to my favorite tracks. Honorable mention, the great Blind Willie Johnson, Dark Was the Night. Cold Was the Ground. Also, The Pretty Things by Loneliest Person. I know it's very short, but faves are going to be Connor Oberst and Jillian Welsh with Lua. Joan Baez, Diamonds and Rust. Royal City Postcards, which I'll point out was a 6-minute, 15-second song. And then my favorite was Iron and Wine, the Trapeze Singer, which was almost 10 minutes as well. So it's not necessarily long songs that I'm opposed to. It's a certain style that doesn't always resonate with me. But great list. What is that? 6 of the 10 are in my honorable mention or fave. So cool idea by Osmond too. I got these songs over here. I want them to be heard. They need to be listened to somewhere. And lists like this are kind of fun because you kind of can take them all different directions when you're listening to them. So let me know what your favorite tracks were on this list. Thanks to everybody for watching. Until next time, I will see you.